Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. Chelsea came from behind to beat Liverpool in the Carabao Cup, knocking out the Reds and handing them their first loss of the season. How did they do it? Where did Liverpool go wrong? Don't worry, here at the interviews, we've got you covered. So on this edition of the interviews, we're going to break down how Chelsea beat Liverpool. So before we get into Chelsea against Liverpool, don't forget that we upload videos every day. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the thumbs up if you like the content that you're seeing. Chelsea looking to get over their tie against West Ham over the weekend, whereas Liverpool want to kick off their fine form and go into their league match against Chelsea unbeaten. In today's video, we're going to break down why Liverpool encountered issues in the first half trying to stop Chelsea from playing out of the back, why Fabregas was so pivotal, and what changed in the second half. But first, let's get to the lineups. Both sides changing everything's up. Let's start with Chelsea. More of a 4-3-3 as we expected. They had Willian, Morata, and Moses up front. In midfield, they went with Kovacic, they went with Fabregas, and they went with Ross Barkley. Then we get to Liverpool. Also the same lineup, 4-3-3. Daniel Sturridge up front, Shaqiri and Mane just in behind them. In midfield, they went with James Milner. They had Fabinho making his start to the lineup, and they had Naby Keita. But first, when we get into this video, we have to break down how Chelsea were able to stop Liverpool in the first half and frustrate them for large portions of the half. So let's get to the first half. Chelsea against Liverpool. Chelsea really starring through Fabregas, who made a start in the deeper role. We think about Liverpool. Obviously, when they go up against Fabregas, you're going to expect them to try and press him based on the fact that although he could pick a pass, he's immobile and you can overrun him and force him into several issues. But when you look at the sides, 4-3-3 against 4-3-3, meaning both sides drop off into 4-5-1 without the ball, which means the midfield battle is even. You look at it here, you have Kovacic against Milner, you have Barkley against Keita, and then you have Fabinho and Fabregas holding. Two different players. Fabinho, more of a natural holding midfielder. Fabregas, more to play that final long ball, looking to add that penetration that we haven't really seen from Jorginho, although he's such a great passer. So when you look at it as a whole, how was Fabregas key in this game? When you look at it from a stylistic standpoint or on paper, you don't expect him to really be the key cog to what Chelsea are trying to do. You would think that he's perhaps a liability. Well, one, Liverpool haven't really pressed as they normally did under Klopp in the earlier stages of his tenure. They've been dropping off into more of a 4-5-1. They've had Salah and Mane kind of block off passes into the advanced fullbacks. Here you had Mane, who did start, and then you had Shaqiri a bit higher. But the problem was that no one was really picking up Fabregas when he dropped deeper. We saw it in the earlier stages where even when he did drop off, what happened here was that Fabinho follows him. He's able to get the pass. What happens is that Mane isn't really blocking off the pass, so he clips it over to who we have here is Azpilicueta. So now you have Mane coming over. You have Keita coming over as well because Keita's marking for Mane. What happens there is that Ross Barkley, who was deeper, is able to run forward into that space behind Fabinho, behind Keita, play the pass into him. He's able to drive forward into midfield and then slide the ball wide. That was one opportunity that we did see from this side. We look at another opportunity, and what happened here is that if it's not Fabregas dropping deeper, they could also have Kovacic dropping deeper, and that's pivotal to what they're trying to do. So even with Fabregas dropping off and not being picked up, what happens there is that if someone was trying to get close to him, you had Kovacic dropping off, and that forces Milner to come to him. But what happened here was that Fabregas dropped off a bit deeper to pick up the ball. He gets the ball. You have Milner pinching to him because no one else is. So then he's able to play that pass into Kovacic. Kovacic is able to push forward. What happens there is that now Willian's able to drop off, plays it into Willian. Willian slides it to Barkley. Barkley slides it to Moses, who then allows Azpilicueta to make the overlapping run. But that is a sign of Chelsea being able to push forward, start a havoc through that side. And that was another thing that we got from them, is that when Willian dropped off, Klein never really looked to push with him, and he would drop off into midfield to add another marker. On the opposite flank, you would have Moses drop off, and you would have Moreno get very tight, but on several occasions we saw Victor Moses spin him on the turn, going outside, going inside. That was a problem for Liverpool Liverpool because their fullbacks were getting beat as well. We look at another opportunity now where you see Liverpool kind of drop off. We see Chelsea kind of move more into a back three with Azpilicueta staying pretty deep. Now what you have here is that with Azpilicueta staying deep and Emerson pushing forward, this is what happens. They are able to move more into somewhat of a front three, pushing off, trying to stop the play from going forward. So you see Fabregas drop in. Fabregas is able to drop in, which forces then Sturridge to drop off a bit, and that allows Kovacic to drop off. Milner sees it late, gets the pass into him. What happens is that he's able to spin him, push forward, and then play the pass out wide to Emerson, who is pushing forward. Chelsea were able to find gaps in that midfield. One more opportunity again. We see what happens here is that Cahill gets the ball. We see Shaqiri kind of stepping in. What happens is that Keita steps up as well. And what happens here is that you have the pass blocked off to Fabregas. You have Shaqiri. You have Keita. What happens is that you have Kovacic dropping into that space. The pass is played into him. You have Milner coming to him. He's able to spin by him again, drive forward, and play the pass wide. Chelsea were able to play out of the back based on the fact that the front three weren't pressing forward. And if the front three were a bit higher, what would happen here is that the midfield bank was so far off. So you look at the space in. So if Kovacic got the pass, then you see Milner jump to him. Keita a bit higher, not really blocking off anyone, and we'll get to how Barkley was impactful in a second. And then you have Fabinho not really looking to step towards Fabregas, so they always had numbers up front. Shaqiri and Mane weren't looking to close down that space, and they were able to push forward. Kovacic was able to skip by Milner on several occasions. No one was picking up Fabregas, and the wider players were always an option out wide because the front players in Willian and Moses were beating their markers, and no one was getting out to Emerson or Azpilicueta to make a difference. And Chelsea found that route easy. So now we're going to get to how they were able to find space in open play in Liverpool's third. So now let's get to how Chelsea were able to build from midfield when Liverpool dropped into a 4-5-1. So you have them here in the 4-5-1. They still had problems based on the fact that their defense was sitting a bit too deeper and the midfield was a bit higher. But what was the midfield doing and what was Sturridge doing? We saw in the opening stages, we have Fabregas deeper on the ball. We have Keita stepping to him. And what happens there is that Ross Barkley is able to pick up that space to the left of Fabinho, and Fabregas is able to play that pass into him before he's able to slide the ball wide. That was how Chelsea were getting forward. There weren't many combinations with Morata. A lot of the times when they were able to find the ball in that position, they were able to slide it wide. We saw it on two separate occasions as well as the game progressed, where what would happen was that Fabregas would get on the ball, Keita often just a bit too high, not really looking to find the space that Barkley is trying to get into. And again, it's Fabregas just constantly finding him in that space. There was one time where Sturridge and then Fabinho kind of stepped to him, and then you're able to play that pass. He's able to drive forward and last a shot wide. The second time, he's able to get away from Sturridge's press, Keita high again. He's able to find him there and slide the ball into that space. Like I said, what Liverpool were trying to do is that they had Milner trying to press Kovacic, Fabinho looking to block off that space, but if he's not getting to Fabregas, he has to ensure that the midfield bank is tight and compact, and then Keita not really doing a job of finding Barkley, and often Barkley was able to find the ball in that space to the left of Fabinho, played into him, and they were able to get forward in that sense. But there was more to Fabregas than just that. Him being able to pick up the ball from deep, this time he's able to clip along diagonal into Morata, who runs off Lovren, gets across Matip, should score, tries to chip the keeper Mignolet. Mignolet saves it, and then he can't guide the rebound in. There were times where we also saw him drop off. First, he linked play with Willian, who fired a shot wide. Then he was able to push forward and drop into space in between Milner and Fabinho and drive the ball out wide to get the fullbacks forward and to get Moses forward. So Morata was doing his job in bits and pieces. But like I said, Fabregas, they tried to get Sturridge on him as the game wore on. That was wasn't really working out, but they were finding loads of space in between Keita and Fabinho. That is where Chelsea were finding their joy. You look at Kovacic, he was also dropping off, and like I said, individually slaloming past Milner whenever he could. So that was key. We talked about the wider players getting past the fullbacks, but there was one time where Chelsea were threatened. A lot of the times in the half, they were threatened via long balls from Liverpool, playing the balls over the top. Here, you got Barkley with a loose pass into Fabregas. Sturridge is able to nip the ball away from him. And what happens there is that Milner instantly slides the ball in behind Emerson for Shaqiri. Emerson's able to recover well, but he's able to cut him off. And you see Mane making the run in behind. And the cross is played into Mane, who runs off Azpilicueta, but Mane nods a tame effort at the keeper. You go into halftime, you're thinking Chelsea are looking good. Fabregas is dictating the tempo. Kovacic is offering him help. They're getting threats in wide areas, but all they were missing was the threat in the final third, whereas Liverpool needed to shape up, and in the second half, they did do that. Then we get to the second half, and Liverpool didn't really make any significant changes, but they did press a bit higher. They try to force Chelsea into errors. We saw in the opening stages Christensen playing a poor pass back into Sturridge, who's able to round Willie, but he fires a shot wide. We saw Barkley nodding a ball back into the path of Sadio Mane, and Mane was able to get 1v1 ahead of Christensen, but he poked his effort at Willie as well. Liverpool were getting their chances. Then we look at the goal. It's again Fabregas being pressed by Milner, and what happens there is that he plays it to Azpilicueta, who Azpilicueta gives it away to Mane, and you see Keita get into the play, and he's able to roll Azpilicueta. The save, Keita forces Willie into a save, and then you see Sturridge acrobatically finish to put Liverpool up 1-0. But they were pressing now from goal kicks. They were forcing Chelsea into issues. Chelsea were able to bypass those issues in several ways based on the fact that their one-touch passing was able to evade that issue. We saw one instance where it was Emerson, one pass into Kovacic, into Willian, and they were able to push forward as a unit. The other thing that they did very well was that Fabregas started to get pressed. We saw Shaqiri step to him, and we saw him give away the ball. Fabregas give away the ball. We saw Sturridge and Henderson, who came on for Milner, step to Fabregas, and he gave away the ball. But Chelsea were no longer in that rhythm. Fabregas wasn't getting time on the ball. Sturridge was doing a better job of sitting on top of him. Chelsea were dropping off a bit deeper. They ended up bringing on Eden Hazard. They ended up bringing on N'Golo Kante. Barkley pushed out to the left-hand side, and as they ended up eventually bringing on David Luiz as well, and as they were chasing for a goal, they were pushing higher up the pitch. But again, Liverpool weren't really harming them. Only one other time where you saw Hazard and Barkley both press naively onto Klein, and we saw Henderson push back, and then we saw a simple long ball. Shaqiri runs off Emerson, but he slipped. Chelsea didn't look like they were getting any goals. They didn't really create any chances. They were almost down 2-0 when Hazard dropped off. He was dispossessed by Fabinho. What happens there is that the ball, Shaqiri gets it. He's able to play it into Firmino, who backheels it into Sturridge, but Sturridge bent his effort off the crossbar. Again, Chelsea's goals, how do they stem? A set piece that Barkley nodded on goal, and Emerson was able to tap it in. Then we saw a moment of individual brilliance from Eden Hazard to beat several Liverpool players to score the winning goal and push forward. Salah eventually came on, but again, Hazard was causing Liverpool problems. Henderson committing 2 fouls on him. But when you look at the game as a whole from a tactical perspective, Liverpool were just closing down spaces better. They were getting markers onto Fabregas. Chelsea were dropping off and not applying much of a counter-attacking threat. They had a one Morata chance where he nodded an effort wide from Willian, and that stemmed from a loose ball, but they weren't creating chances. The set piece brought them back into the game. Hazard's individual brilliance changed it, but their start to the game was very good, and we look at that the first half, Fabregas dictating, Liverpool not being able to close them down. However, their levels dropped off. Liverpool improved with their work rate and their commitment. They were able to get the go-ahead goal, but eventually Chelsea's talent through Eden Hazard and set-piece execution were able to knock Liverpool out of the Carabao Cup. But let me know what you guys think. Can Liverpool rebound from this weekend and beat Chelsea? If so, how are they going to do it? And what about Chelsea? Are they the real deal? Was their tie against West Ham just a hiccup? on their road to success under Maurizio Sarri in his first season? Meet me in the comments below. Don't forget I upload videos every day, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click the thumbs up button. And that was your daily dose of the interviews.